Are you an investor looking for premium market opportunities? Presenting premium and exclusive service for investors by Kalkai.
Hello, I'm James Preston for Kalkai Media and welcome to another edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks. In this edition, I'll be shining a light on Saunders International Limited. Saunders is a multidisciplined engineering and construction company, and to tell us more about exactly what they're getting up to, the CEO and Managing Director Mark Benson now joins me. Mark, great to have you here with us today.
Thank you, James. Nice to be here.
Well, Mark, first and foremost, take us through the 2022 financial year. Some great results for you guys.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, James. We've had some really good growth through the company in the last year, and we've been growing pretty well over the last couple of years. A lot of our success I put down to a great team of people, but if we go back 4 years, we had some problem projects, and we were going to have some bad results that year. And even though we had a strong balance sheet and also lots of cash in the bank, we took that opportunity to put some money on the balance sheet, about $1.5 million, and we did some pretty major restructures. So we basically looked at, started at the front of the business and worked our way right through to the back of the business and made quite a lot of changes, both in some of the management positions as well as systems and procedures. And we did have a large workshop facility in Sydney, and we actually closed that down and went to a panel of fabricators, both onshore and offshore. And I think that crisis at the time was probably the catalyst to make some major changes, and it's always the case. If you have a bit of a crisis, it's always good to change the business. We're now starting to see the benefits of that in our business. We did a lot of diversification through the business. About 4 years ago, we got into defence, and that's been very good for the business. We've completed quite a lot of projects now here in Sydney, at Garden Island, as well as up in Darwin at the RAF base. We're at the Navy base there, Coonawarra. We're still currently doing work, and we've won a major project for the US government. But I think on the back, we've had a lot of tailwinds right across the business, seeing how we diversified the business. We've had the fuel security. So under the IEA treaty that we signed in the 70s, this is Australia, we're meant to keep about 90 days of fuel supply. And we only keep, on average, between 40 to 50 odd days of fuel supply. And we actually run out of fuel, petrol, in about 24 days if something major was to happen. So the government's now put some grants out, around $270 million worth of grants, and that's about $600 million worth of construction work, and that's just building tank storage, which is what our core business does. There's about 10 projects, and only about 3 of those have been let, so still a lot to happen in that space. We also have an infrastructure group, and that infrastructure group, half of the business predominantly builds bridges for New South Wales in the country, what you'd class as the typical country bridge. And there's also grants out now to the tune of about $500 million to replace all those country bridges, 400 plus bridges. And so that's right in the sweet spot again of what Saunders does. The other part of the business, we do pre-stressed products out of Newcastle, and we supply into the Sydney infrastructure market. And a lot of the tier 1 work and all the construction that's going on here in both tunnels, bridges, railway, station upgrades. So we're really seeing, where we've diversified the business, we're really seeing good tailwinds right across there. And I think our results are predominantly our guys, the team we've put together, our systems, we're delivering projects very well, and that's the trick to contracting.
Well, you also made mention there of moving a bit more into the world of defence. Of course, last year you secured a mega defence contract. Can you take me through how much that contract is worth and how you see it working within what Saunders does?
Yeah, look, so that's been a major step change for Saunders. We've won a job there for a US-based company called Crowley, and they're working direct for the US government. And the US government is building 300 megalitres of jet fuel out here in Darwin at East Arm. And that's really so that they can have some fuel out this neck of the woods. There's obviously a lot of issues out this way from a military point of view. They've also had their facility at Red Hill, which is in Pearl Harbor. These tanks, it stores probably the majority of the Pacific Fleet's fuel, and they were built in the World War II. And they're leaching into the soil. They're old and they're causing water contamination and lots of problems. So they're having to fully decant those tanks. And so this project in Australia at East Arm is critical for their capability out in the Pacific. And we also see a lot more of that starting to come in the future. So both here in Australia for the US government as well as over in around the Pacific Islands. The other parts of defence that we're sort of currently concentrating on is for the Australian Defence Force. There's what they call Tranche 2, which is about $500 million worth of fuel upgrades around Australia, and that's specifically again in our sweet spot of what Saunders does, and we've got the credentials there now. There's also a Tranche 3 that follows on top of that, which is about $700 million worth of work, and that's building new infrastructure. So to put it in a little bit of context, we're building 300 million litres of jet fuel, both seaborne and land-borne jet fuel. The whole Australian, my understanding is the whole Australian Air Force's fuel supply is about 350 million litres. So, we're building nearly the same as what we currently have out here. But look, the project's going well, about 31% complete. We're actually the EPCM, so we're the overall manager of the whole project, and we're also the constructor of the project. So it'll probably end up around a $220 million project for Saunders. So yeah, great project, and it's good to be supporting the US Defence Force.
Yeah, big numbers, and I mean it's quite interesting because we're at a position of, I would say, rather tumultuous geopolitical tensions. I mean, you look at Russia and Ukraine, you look at Chinese aggression. Is there probably a space, I suppose, for Saunders to work in with some more defence contracts given the state of politics at the moment?
Yeah, look, definitely. We're ramping up our defence spend, Australia. So some of the, they're eye-watering numbers they're trying to spend over the next 10 to 15 years. There's a lot being spent on the toys, which is very important. But at Saunders we say, without Saunders, everyone's a passenger because they all require fuel. So we see a lot of work coming up in that area, and we're positioning the business to continue to have that as a large part of our go forward.
Now, obviously that's the defence contract, but there's a lot of other projects you're working on. Can you take me through a few of those?
Yeah, look, we're a fairly multi-diversified business these days. So we have our infrastructure group, we have our tank, our core business. We have our automation side as well, which is a new acquisition, and we're now working across defence, oil and gas, new energy, as well as mining and mineral and water. So lots happening. Our tender teams have never been busier.
Well, you mentioned new energy there. I'm sure this probably works in quite well with Plant Weave. Take me through what that is and how exactly Saunders is preparing it.
Yeah, look, Plant Weave was a acquisition. It was a strategy to continue to bolster our sort of smart side of our business. We always want to be a smart contracting company and to add on to our current engineering. And that was an acquisition we completed in August last year, and it's now fully integrated. And most of our clients, it's been very, very positive because we've offered the mechanical services. Now we can offer, that full range of automation, process control, cyber security, and we're pushing into that industry 4.0 space. So it's, we're glad to have the Plant Weave team as part of our team, and it's going very well, and it allows us now to fully deliver projects, from an overall point of view, and do most of the work ourselves, self-perform.
And how exactly does Plant Weave function though? What's its main benefit for having acquired it?
Yeah, look, the main benefit for Plant Weave again is that we didn't have that electrical automation capability. So if we look at the big defence job we're doing in Darwin, we're doing all the tanks, which is the main component. We're doing all the pipe work. We're self-performing. Those guys will do all the automation controls and electrical work. So it allows us now to to do a full project as a turnkey.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of projects, you've been looking at a few greener projects these days. I know there's a big push at the moment between EVs and just in general from our politicians, and certainly a societal front. There's a real push for renewable energy and I suppose cutting emissions as well. Is this a space that Saunders can work within the framework of, and how can you capitalise on as well?
Yeah, look, strategically, it's a focus for the business. There's a lot of hype around the green and new energy stuff at the moment, but definitely real and definitely where we see the future of Saunders. We see that somewhere 3 to 4 years away, but we are currently working on a few projects in the early stages. A lot of our services are easily transferable across to that area, and we'll be concentrating on that hydrogen side as well as offshore wind and some projects of waste to energy we're sort of looking at. So definitely a focus for the business, and definitely we'll see in the future Saunders be, we hope, a major player in that area.
Yeah, you're talking about the future there, obviously that's one part of it. What else is on the horizon for Saunders?
Yeah, look, we've got a lot happening. As I mentioned, defence is a big focus, so we're doing a lot of work in that area. We continue to push into that area, and we'll probably be looking at some more strategic acquisitions as part of that to continue to push our skill set into that area. As I mentioned, we see, well, in that defence, there's a 10 to 15 year look ahead, so which is probably more, which is really good. We're also seeing that fuel security that I mentioned, there's another 3 years work that's going to be fairly intense in that area. Lots of projects still to come out, so we see that we'll be a major player in that space. The bridges for the bush, fixing the country, New South Wales bridges is an area that that's been underway for a while now, but we still think there's $300+ million worth of work still of bridges to go in that area. And again, a focus now with the shareholders is in that ESG part, that environmental, social and governance part. That's an area that the business will focus on, because that's becoming a major factor in some of the investors and what they're doing. And as a good corporate citizen, we're pushing into that area as well. So exciting times for Saunders because of our diversification. Our pipeline has grown, our order book's good, and lots of opportunities coming up.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, it's been great to chat today. Just before I let you go, is there any final words you'd like to leave with our audience and your shareholders as well?
Yeah, no, look, it's busy times for everyone at the moment. It's exciting times for Saunders. We're growing quite significantly. We're around 200+ employees 6 months ago, and we're now at about we're over 350 employees. So there's some of those macroeconomic factors out there at the moment, which Saunders has shown that we've navigated through very well over the past 12 to 24 months, and we'll continue to navigate through those. But we're hoping with all the tailwinds that we've got behind us and across a fairly diversified range of services now, that very positive for the company over the next 3 to 4 years.
Hey, look, there certainly has been plenty of things you've had to deal with. There's been the pandemic, geopolitical uncertainty, and a whole bunch of issues regarding supply chains and logistics, and you've done very well. So, Mark, I congratulate you on that.
Thank you very much, James.
Well, that's Mr. Mark Benson, the Managing Director and CEO of Saunders International Limited. And if you missed any part of that chat, you can catch the full interview on our YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe. I'm James Preston, reminding you to stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine Media.